So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make his snout. So just like before, we need to make a slip knot. And just like before, we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And just like before, we're going to join the first and the last chain together with a slip stitch. And just like before, we're going to single crochet 6. So into the middle and single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now we're going to do an increase round. So we're going to increase in every single stitch up to 12. So we're going to do 2 in every stitch. So in the first stitch we have 1 and 2. In the next stitch is 3 and 4. In the next stitch is 5 and 6. In the next stitch is 7 and 8. In the next stitch 9 and 10. In the next stitch 11 and 12. So now we have 12. 12. Now we're going to do another increase round. So we're going to increase from 12 to 18. So we're going to increase on every multiple of 3. So in the first stitch, single crochet 1, and in the next stitch, 2 and increase for 3. In the next stitch, 4, oopsies, sorry, one more time, 4. In the next stitch, 5, and in the same stitch, increase for 6. 7, 8, and increase for 9. 10, 11, and increase for 12. 13, 14, and increase for 15. 16, 17, and increase for 18. So we are done with our increases. Now we're going to single crochet 1 around for 2 rounds. So that's going to be 36 stitches. So single crochet all the way around until you reach 36 stitches, or 2 rounds of 18. 1, 34, 35, and 36. So that's all of them. Now we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. And again, we're going to break kind of a long tail so that we can use it to stuff it. So break your yarn, pull your end through, and just bunch up your tail and shove it in there. It doesn't have to be perfect right now because we're going to make adjustments once we start sewing the pieces together. Alright, so next we're going to make the flame for his tail. So we're going to need our red yarn, our yellow yarn, and our orange yarn. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a pom-pom, essentially. So you take your yellow yarn, your red yarn, and your orange yarn together like this. You just hold them and wrap them around your fingers about 2 times. Should be fine. And actually I'm going to wrap them around 3 fingers. So there's 1, 2. That's good enough. And now we're going to cut them. And then with our orange yarn, we're going to tie them. So tie them around the middle with your orange yarn. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's fine if it's not perfect, because we want it actually to be a little bit uneven so that it looks more like a flame and less like a pom-pom. So there's that. And now we take our scissors and we cut through the loops. And be very gentle, don't pull any of the yarn out, but just very gently cut. And if you've got a piece that's too long, like that one right there, you just cut it off. Now this doesn't look very flame-like at the moment, that's fine. What we're gonna do now is comb through it. Okay, so you take your comb and you can use the wider tooth part at first. And hold them down, don't just like start brushing. Because if you don't hold them down, they're all gonna come out and it's not gonna look very good. But yeah, hold one side and brush through the other side. This is gonna break apart the yarn. And make sure you hold it really well so that it doesn't come out. And then you can take your fine side once you've got it all broken up. Like that. Then you flip it over and you hold the other side. And once again, comb through. And once we weave this, see, part came out. So you have to hold it really tightly to prevent that from happening. And once we make this into the tail, you can cut it and shape it a little more once it's actually attached to the tail, because you want to make sure that it's attached to the tail so that you get the size and everything that you want. Now we're going to come back through with our orange yarn, and just like the arms, we're going to make a slip knot. And just like the arms, we're going to chain 4, join the chains together, and then single crochet 6. So chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then join to the first chain. Okay, and then back into the middle to single crochet 6. You should be very familiar with this process by now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so let me go over this really briefly. So the way that it's going to work is that you're crocheting around the outside like you normally are. So going this way so that your hook's coming from the inside to the outside, stick it through, and then take your yarn tail from your pom-pom and pull it through like this. Okay? Now stick your hook back into the loop so that you can crochet. And now we're going to weave this tail into our work. That way the pom-pom is kind of stuck in there. So this is going to be a little bit tricky for you, maybe. So now while we're doing this, we're also going to do an increase round. We're going to increase on every multiple of 3 so that we have 9. So stick your hook into the first stitch. Okay, stick your hook into the first stitch, but make sure that your tails are through. So stick your hook into the first stitch and your tail is coming over like that. Okay, and bring your actual working yarn through like this and single crochet 1. So now your tails are being locked into place. In the next stitch, bring your working yarn through, keeping your tails weaving in, and single crochet 2. In that same stitch, increase for 3. Okay, this is a little bit tricky. So in the next stitch, single crochet 4, and in the next stitch, single crochet 5, and in the same stitch, increase for 6. In the next stitch, single crochet 7, in the next stitch, 8, and increase for 9. Now pull this up so that it doesn't come out. Now we're going to take our tail and pull on it so that we really lock this pom-pom into place. Okay. So that is locked in. It's not going anywhere. It's not coming loose. Now you can cut your tail, not the working yarn, but the tail now if you want, or you can continue to weave it in until it's completely woven. And I'm going to continue to weave it in. But if you're finding this difficult, you can cut your tail at this time. All right. So now we're going to single crochet 1 around for 2 rounds. So we're just going to single crochet 18 stitches. So 1, 2, 17, and 18. So I've single crocheted 2 rounds of 9 for 18 stitches. Now we're going to do another increase round. We're going to increase from 9 to 12. So we're going to increase on multiples of 4. So we single crochet 1, single crochet 2, 3, and in the same stitch increase for 4. 5, 6, 7, and in the same stitch increase for 8. 9, 10, 11, and in the same stitch increase for 12. So now we have 12 stitches. Like that. And now just like before, we're going to single crochet just 1 around for 2 rounds. So we're going to single crochet until we have 2 rounds of 12, which is 24. So just single crochet 24. 1, 2, 22, 23, 24. So there we go, we have 24. And now we're going to do our last increase round. We're going to increase on every multiple of 5 so we can go from 12 to 15 stitches. So we single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the same stitch increase for 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, and in the same stitch increase for 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, and in the same stitch increase for 15. And now, just like before, we're going to single crochet one around for 2 rounds. So that's going to be 30 stitches. So single crochet one around for 30 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 29, 30. All right, so we are all done with the tail. So now we're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch to finish it off. And just like before, we're going to take kind of a long tail so that we can use this to stuff it. And break your yarn. All right. So here we have our tail with the flame. All right, so the last thing we're gonna do is crochet the color part for his stomach right here, for his belly. So you're gonna need to take your tan yarn. And this one, we're gonna do it, the procedure for this is different than the other ones. So we're going to make a slip knot, just like we always do. And this time we're going to chain 11. So we chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we chained 11. And now we're going to stick our hook through this first chain from the hook, pull our yarn through, and single crochet 1. And the same in the next chain. So that's 2. In the next chain, 3. In the next chain, 4. In the next chain, 5. In the next chain, 6. In the next chain, 7. In the next chain, 8. In the next chain, 9. And in this last chain for 10. So even though we chained 11, we end up with 10 stitches because this 11th chain on the end becomes the chain 1 for this first row. And you know, normally I would make this part of the stomach, so I would just crochet this other color in at the time that I'm making this, but I want this to be easy for beginners, and changing yarn colors frequently can be really complicated because it just gets messy. So this is kind of the easier way to do it. So we're at the end of our row. Now we're gonna chain 1 and then turn it so that we're gonna go back through the other way. So stick your hook through this first single crochet, and 1, 2, 3, and we're just gonna single crochet 1 across for the entire row. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So chain 1 and turn. All right, so now we're going to do this same pattern for another 3 rows. Okay, so we've already done 2 rows plus our chains for 3, and now we're going to do 3 more rows exactly the same. So you single crochet 10, chain 1, and turn. And I'll meet you back here when that's all done. Okay, so I've finished my 6 rows and then I chained 1 at the very end just to finish it off. So now you can break your yarn. Leave a little bit of a tail so that you can use this tail to sew it on, and then break it. And there we go. So now all that's left to do is assemble it. Let me just zoom out to make that easier. So the first thing we're going to do is sew on the belly. So make sure that it's in line. Then take your pins. Probably more than one, huh? And pin it into place where you like it so that it's nice and centered. Okay, and then once again we are going to take our embroidery needle and we're going to thread this through. I'm also going to sew this tail in later, but first I want to do the main portion. So thread your yarn tail through your needle and sew it on. So you go in through the body and out like this, and then come out through here. And you want it to be tight, but not too tight, because if it's too tight, it's going to bunch up and it's going to look really bad. Okay, through, out. Okay, so I'm all done with that. Now I'm just going to weave this tail into the body a couple times so that it doesn't come loose. And when you weave the tail in like this, it really does secure it into place. I know, because I put this into the washing machine and hoped that it would shrink to be the same size as the Squirtle. That didn't work, but despite the fact that it was in the washing machine and tumbling around in the dryer, it didn't come unraveled. So when you weave your tails in through the body like this, it really does secure them pretty well into place so that you don't have to worry about them coming out. Okay, so there's that. And now we're going to take care of this tail right here. Don't cut this tail off at the base, because if you do that, if you just cut it off right here, then this will come undone. So it's a lot safer just to weave it into the body. All right, so that's all done. And it's really important that you sew this part on before any of the other parts, or at least before the snout. Well, actually before any of the other parts, because the other parts will be going over this to a certain extent. So now we can pin the other pieces into place. So you take your snout, and pin it. Okay, and then we take our arms and pin those into place. And the placement is just wherever you like it. There's no secret to getting it on right. It's just You look at it, and if you like it, then that's where it goes. Okay, and now for the feet. So the feet should overlap with this just a little bit. And, you know, make sure that it sits up straight. The placement of the tail is really going to determine how straight it sits up. There we go. And the last one is the tail. Now the tail is important that you get it kind of in the right spot, because that's going to be what makes him sit. If it's too high or too low, he's not going to sit very well. So, and also when you're pinning it, avoid putting pins on the bottom, because that's going to make it difficult to determine if he's actually sitting upright, because there's going to be a pin there propping him up. So, I'm going to do lots of pins around the top. Like that. And just give it a test, see if he sits up. And I think we're good. All right, so now let's sew everything into place. So once again, we take our orange yarn and thread our embroidery needle. There we go. And I like to go in a random place, that way the yarn is woven through a little bit. And the way that I like to sew this on, let me just take a lot so that I've got enough to do everything that I want to do. So I like to go out through the body, then up through the back side of whatever part I'm sewing on. That way you can't see any visible stitches. And then back through the outside and back into the body and then out. And this way you won't see any visible stitches. All right, so just sew everything on, and I will meet you back here when it is done. Alright, so once you're done sewing everything in place, weave your yarn into the body a couple times. And then you can cut it. Okay. And then just you can kind of squish everything around so that it goes into the shape you want it to go. Okay, so that's our finished product, or our finished piece. If you like this tutorial, make sure you like and subscribe. If you do this tutorial and it doesn't turn out the way you want it to, it is a made-to-order item on my Etsy account, so you can go onto my Etsy account and I would be happy to make it for you. The link is in the description. If you want to see more of my work, you can follow me on Instagram or like my page on Facebook. Both of those links are also in the description. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial.